कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So we are reading from Canto 1, the creation, chapter 18, Parīkṣit cursed by a Brāhmaṇa boy. And text number, the last text number 50. You have the screen, Prabhu? Thank you. Canto 1, chapter 18, text 50. Prayasha sadhavo loke pare dvandveshu yojitaha nyavyathanti narishanti yata atma gunashrayah. Prayasha sadhavo loke pare dvandveshu yojitaha nyavyathanti narishanti yat atma aguna ashrayah. Prayashaha, generally. Sadhava, saints. Loke, in this world. Parahe, by others. Dvandveshu, in duality. Yojitaha, being engaged. Na, never. Vyathanti, distressed. Na, nor. Harshanti, takes pleasure. Yataha, because. Atma, self. Aguna ashrayaha, transcendental. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Generally, the transcendentalist, even though engaged by others in the dualities of the material world, are not distressed, nor do they take pleasure in worldly things, for they are transcendentally engaged. Would anyone like to read the purport?
I can read, Mataji. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The transcendentalists are the empiric philosophers, the mystics, and the devotees of the Lord. Empiric philosophers aim at the perfection of merging into the being of the Absolute. Mystics aim at perceiving the all-pervading Supersoul, and the devotees of the Lord are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the personality of Godhead. Since Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are different phases of the same transcendence, all these transcendentalists are beyond the three modes of material nature. Material distresses and happinesses are products of the three modes, and therefore the causes of such material distress and happiness have nothing to do with the transcendentalists. The king was a devotee and the rishi was a mystic. Therefore, both of them were unattached to the accidental incident created by the supreme will. The playful child was an instrument in fulfilling the Lord's will. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Mahārāja Parīkṣit cursed by a Brahman boy. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Om Pirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataram Paramananda Madhava Shri Chaitanya Ishvara Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. So here 3 types of transcendentals are described. We see Prabhupada saying empiric philosophers, mystics, and then the devotees of the Lord. So empiric philosophers, it's Jnana Yoga, by which Prabhupada is referring to the Jnana Yogis, by which Brahman realization is attained, which says that they believe that the supreme divine is the light coming from Krishna's body, the effulgence that's coming from Krishna's body. And then comes the mystics, the Ashtanga Yogi, the Dhyana Yogis, which come to the realization of Paramatma, that's seated in our heart. So for them, the object of worship is Paramatma. And then the third process, the devotees of the Lord, Bhakti Yoga process, by which these type of transcendentalists, they come to the realization of Bhagavan, that Krishna is the supreme. There's this verse in regard to explaining these 3 tattvas in Bhāgavatam, which is Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagvaniti shabdyate. That we know the absolute truth by these 3, that we know that absolute truth has 3 features: Bhagavan, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And Prabhupada here describes that all these 3 transcendentalists, they are beyond the 3 modes of material nature. But when we read this chapter, we may think that that means that the transcendentalists are not affected by the dualities. And what is a duality? Material distress and happiness, or pain and pleasure, heat and cold, like that. But we see how in this chapter, Parīkṣit Mahārāja, what has he done? He has, out of hunger and thirst, and when asked for some water to the transcendentally absorbed Shamik Rishi, when he did not respond, how he puts the death snake around his neck. So then what kind of, how do we count this as a transcendental response? So there are many places in Srīmad Bhāgavatam where pastimes are described in very, in different details, and as in a detailed description is given of the pastimes. But here in this chapter, though the chapter is named as Parīkṣit Mahārāja cursed by a Brāhmaṇa boy, apart from the few verses that describe this particular pastime, the whole chapter is describing the glories of the absorption in Krishna consciousness. We see how the text number 48, it's a very famous verse, Tiraskrita Vipralabdha. It's describing how even the Lord, so it's Lord's devotees are forbearing. Even, they tolerate everything. Why? Because they have a higher purpose. And so why is that the chapter, though, is named as Parīkṣit cursed by Brāhmaṇa boy, but the glory is the focus on is on the glories of absorption in Krishna consciousness. And at the end, the pastime is given very briefly. And amazingly, if we see that how, in shlokas, all these shlokas, there is no mention of, especially in the translation, there is no mention of Shamik Rishi or Shringi. Their names are not mentioned. What is mentioned is Rishi, Rishi's boy, or Brahmana and the Brahmana's boy. So we see how, yes, there is a fault happened. Yes, there is a mistake that happened. But what Srīmad Bhāgavatam wants to show us is the glories of the devotees. It is not important what is done, what is being done, what fault has been made. What is important is how I responded in that situation. That is what matters. And we see that is, so the whole Bhagavatam is actually filled with these, these amazing transcendental responses that devotees give at the time of distress. And that's how it's happening in Parīkṣit Mahārāja's case. We see how in the future, how we will see that even though he did that, Shamik Rishi did not take that offense, because he was absorbed. He had that higher purpose. He was not focusing on, oh, I got this dead snake around my, who did that around my neck? That's not what he's thinking about. So in our case also, does that mean that, so, and then like how Parīkṣit Mahārāja is getting angry and puts a dead snake around it. He's getting angry. So when we see that in our situation, when we get angry or we get envious, does that mean that we can say that this is ordained by Krishna, or I became angry because Krishna wanted me to become angry? That's not the case. We see in the next chapter, we'll see that how Parīkṣit Mahārāja is repenting. He's repenting that how I have dishonored this pious Brāhmaṇa. I need punishment. And that is the attitude of Maharaj Parīkṣit. So when we are talking about transcendence, we are talking about how we can apply this transcendence, how we can become immune to the pain and the pleasure or the dualities of this world. It is for us to check our own response. The whole purpose of Srīmad Bhāgavatam, or the whole purpose of reading Shastras or hearing a class, is that how I can change. It's not when we read something in the Shastras or we hear in the class, it's not for us to judge others' mistakes and be lawyers for our own mistakes, defend our own mistake. No, it's for us how I can improve, how I can respond, how I can better my responses in future with my dealing with the devotees. So here it is described in this verse especially that how there is a difference between transcendentalist and the devotees, transcendentalist and the materialist, that how the material modes of nature are acting on the transcendentalist, but in actuality they are not. Why is that? Because they have this firm faith in the process of the transcendental paths that they are following. That means they have a higher purpose. Yesterday, Viraj Krishna Prabhu was mentioning that when we have this higher purpose, when our purpose is clear, then we can clearly go beyond the dualities of this material world. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparshas tu Kaunteya, Shito Shna Sukha Dukkadaha, Agama Payino Nityas, Tam Stitikshva Bhava. That the non-permanent appearance of this happiness, Sukha Dukkha, happiness, distress, is like the appearance and disappearance of the seasons, winter and summer seasons. And they all arise from the sense perception. And therefore, we must learn to tolerate them. So when we first read these verses, such verses, that one thought may come to our mind is that I understand that I have to tolerate distress. But why happiness? Why do I have to tolerate happiness? What is wrong with being happy? When the soul is described as Anandamaya Bhyasha, that means it's pleasure seeking. And Krishna is Satchitananda. Krishna is that. So what is wrong with being happy? But Krishna is mentioning here that the very nature of material happiness is that it is temporary. That means it does not last forever. And we all experience that. For example, when we score great results in our year 10, year 12, in our board exams, we were quite happy. And that moment may be described, that time in our life, it might be described as the happiest moment in our life. But as we, grow in our spiritual life, we realize that happiness this happiness is fading away. Whatever, for example, if I get a new iPhone, the promise of, or something new, the promise of happiness, the promise of bliss heightens to a feverish peak. And then we feel, oh, happiness is about to come. New things, of course, with new things, yes, it brings convenience, it brings comfort, but that doesn't amount to meaningful fulfillment. Because the new, we realize that anything that we got new, it actually started to loses its newness, then and the happiness that it was supposed to provide us, it gets transferred to the next new thing. And no matter how many things we collect like that, happiness continuously seems to constantly transfer from the things that we don't have. But that's not the case with these transcendentalists, with the pure devotees, because they have nothing to do with material distress and happiness. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the very important, the Mool Shloka of Bhagavad Gita, which is Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matta Sarva Pravartate Iti Matva Bhajante Ma Buddha Bhava Samanyata. So that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. So what is Krishna telling us? That yes, I am the source, and Iti Matva Bhajante Ma. And what do people with knowledge, with wisdom, or what do? That they turn towards Krishna, knowing that he's the source and sustainer, and they understand that he is the source and sustainer. And then what happens to these people? They bhajante mam. That means they are worshipping Krishna with full heart. It's not like the ritualistic offering. And how is that worship going on? Buddha Bhava Samanvita. Buddha means intelligence, and Bhava Samanvita means with the emotion of the heart. So these transcendentalists, the devotees of the Lord, especially in case of when I refer to transcendentalists, I'm referring to the bhakti yogis, the pure devotees of the Lord. They do not do ritualistic worship. They worship Bhava Samanvita, Buddha Bhava. They worship with their intelligence, with their heart, connecting with, worshipping Krishna with all the emotions. So, yes, we know that that's how pure devotees function. That's the level of the pure devotees. But what about us? How do I practically align my intelligence with Krishna's intelligence? There are so many things, Krishna consciousness is so dynamic, it's full of variety. There are so many things that we can practice to align our intelligence with Krishna's intelligence. However, from different classes that we have heard, it can be summed up to 5 things. The very first thing is taking vows. And we all have experienced that there is this power in taking vows. And by vows, I mean spiritual vows, chanting 16 rounds, or even chanting as little as 2 rounds, starting somewhere, chanting 4 rounds, but being consistent, taking a vow of observing Ekadashi. I heard a beautiful statement from Gauranga Prabhu. He said that bhakti begins from outside of ourselves. So there is a difference between karma and bhakti. Karma is the idea comes from within. I want to do this. I want to do this, and that's how I want to do this. So the idea, what to do, how to do, comes from it comes from within. That is karma. However, bhakti is when the origin of instructions is outside of myself. So what to do, how to do has to come from outside. It means we are fulfilling the order of the Vaishnava, or when a Vaishnava gives us the instruction to do something, there is this certain potency coming along with that. Recently, I heard Keshav Mahārāja's podcast, and he was asked as to what was his favorite moments when Mahārāja, when his spiritual master, His Holiness Kanamakanana Mahārāja, used to visit UK. And he gave a very surprisingly shocking answer. He said, the best part of Mahārāja's visit was, or coming to the UK, was when he left. And we may wonder, why is he saying that? And then he said that it was amazing when Mahārāja came, all the anticipation that, that it brings with. And then it was incredible hearing Mahārāja, serving Mahārāja, receiving his instructions. But for him, he said that his excitement was that now Mahārāja has given me these instructions. And now it's time for me to put these instructions into practice. And he said that gave him the faith in his spiritual master. And he said that every single thing, every single instruction that Mahārāja told him, that told him, and he thought that was unintelligible or unachievable. He said it always worked out. And that gave him immense faith, immense wealth in his spiritual life. And we practically see that in our lives also, that even when we are taking a vow for 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 16 rounds, see how we start the bhakti. When we come to the temple, we say, oh, I like coming to the temple, I can serve, but please don't ask me to chant. I can't chant. But when gradually, in association with devotees, when Vaishnava ask us to chant, we surprise ourselves that how come I'm able to take out 2 hours from my earlier busy life? How am I able to be able to chant rounds or be able to, come for the Bhagavatam, for example, every morning? So it means when we do things for Krishna, time expands, and we all experience it. And one practical vow that we all can take is limit our interaction with smartphones, because especially when we are not using it for devotional purposes, because it's very distracting. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yukta ahara viharasya, Yukta chetasya karmasu, Yukta swapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. That one who is regulated in habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, work, they can mitigate all material pains by practicing yoga system. So, when we say that we have to limit our, when I'm saying this, I can say it for myself. It's a big one for me, that I have to limit my interaction with smartphone, because it is very consuming. It is taking away my time, my valuable time, my valuable energy away from Krishna. Then the second one is taking guidance from seniors. So first one is we take spiritual vows to align our intelligence with Krishna's intelligence. The first one is we take spiritual vows. Second is taking guidance from seniors. And this is a very important part of our movement. The whole parampara is based on that. Because the intelligence of our senior devotees is always aligned with Krishna's intelligence. Therefore, they will always give us the advice that is beneficial for our spiritual growth. The third is association with the equals. And means when we associate with devotees, with devotee friends, when we come together, we should make sure that we nourish ourselves with Krishna Katha or Krishna Kirtan. We should discuss something. Radhanath Maharaj says that when we meet with each other, we should ask, what are we currently reading? Is there something that they want to share? Is there something that they heard that they found valuable? And the fourth one is culture of hearing. Yesterday, His Grace Viraj Krishna Prabhu mentioned that the reason we have come so far in our community is because of this, because of hearing Srīmad Bhāgavatam regularly. So when I say that culture of hearing means it's not that I come for 1 day in a week and then I forget for the rest 5 days, and then again I join later after a week, or I'm feeling very anxious today, or I'm feeling very angry today. Let me hear a class on how to manage anger, and just hear once in a while. Yes, that is good as well. But when we have this culture of hearing, when we hear Krishna Katha, when we nourish our hearts with Krishna's glories, our heart is being purified. And practically, I think we should all make a vow that, at least hear one Prabhupada class every day, or our spiritual master's class every day. Even though we don't have the taste, just do it as a medicine. And Prabhupada classes are very, very short, not very long, 25 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So taking that time, nourishing our because we don't, this is actually, we all have experienced that by regularly coming to Bhagavatam, by regularly coming to these Bhagavatam sessions, how our heart, we see how whatever little transformation that we have experienced, And now we look forward to these classes. So, Bhagavatam says, Srīmad Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridayantasto Bhadrani, Vidunoti Suhasatam. That Krishna is, by hearing these, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna is Vidunoti Suhasatam. Krishna is actually clearing our consciousness. He is cleaning the dirt in our heart. And the last one, integrity of speech. So I'll summarize all the points at the end. Integrity of speech means we don't speak unnecessary, any gossip, any prajalpa. Don't waste our energy on unnecessary talks. We use our words judiciously. And I think for me, how it works is integrity of speech. And I think for most of us, that's how it works. How we talk when we are not around, when we are not around devotees. How we are talking to the people who are not Krishna conscious, or how I'm talking to my family, when devotees are not around. How I'm talking to my children. And I've personally experienced that when I've not spoken properly at home with my family, with my children, I'm not peaceful. And we all experience that. So by practicing integrity of speech, I'm able to connect myself better. Krishna also says, Prabhu covered this verse yesterday, Anudvega Karambhakya from Bhagavad Gita. So when we do all these 5 things, what are those 5 things? The first one is taking spiritual vows. Second is taking guidance from seniors. Third, associating with the equals. Fourth, culture of hearing. And fifth, mana or integrity of speech. When we are able to do these 5 things, we'll be able to connect with Krishna's intelligence. And because our intelligence is connected to Krishna, then we are able to navigate the challenges of this world the way Krishna wants us to. And that's how happened in Parīkṣit Mahārāja's case as well. Because he's so connected to Krishna, he realizes that, oh, I did not do the right thing. That's not how devotees should behave. And he's, repenting this, that, oh, now I want punishment. So yes, this intelligence and again, also the very important thing that I forgot to mention when I said that the 10.8 verse says that iti matva bhajantima buddha bhava samamita. Bhava means putting our heart into the practices that we are doing, any devotional practice that we do. So especially when we begin with chanting in the morning, telling Krishna that Krishna, I know I'm not purified. My mind is going to go to so many places that I don't want to go. But I want to be with you, Krishna. I really want to be with you. Please help me deepen my absorption in the holy names. Or when we are doing deity worship, when we are cooking for Krishna. See, unless we offer our heart into these practices, we will see we are only doing it at very superficial level. That is good as well. However, we have to go deep, because that's where the taste lies. That's where we get connected to Krishna. Unless we put our emotions in the process of bhakti, it will not inspire us to do more. It will not encourage us to do better. When Dvajavara Prabhu was here, he said that we are good enough for Krishna. And I was reflecting on the statement when he said that we are good enough for Krishna. We are good because we are connected to Krishna. And because we are connected to Krishna, we are always trying to look for ways that how I can better my service, how I can better my mood in serving Krishna. And that is what it means. It doesn't mean that I'm good enough for Krishna, so I'm the best. That's not how it works. It means because I'm connected to Krishna, I am good, and I want to become better, become a better version of myself. Krishna gave us this life, and what we come out of this life, what we make out of this life, is our gift to Krishna. This life is given to us by Krishna, and what we make out of this life is our gift to Krishna. So I'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, any comments, or any realizations. Okay. Thank you, dear devotees. Thank you for joining. Have a blissful Krishna conscious day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Mataji, for a lovely class.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.